Hello, welcome to the show. My name is John Richardson and I'm the host of Richardson's Rubicon. I'm joined today by Richard Sparks, who is the author of the New Rock series, amongst other things. And he's also had an appearance on, he's done some writing for Not the 9 O'Clock News and other famous BBC type comedy shows as well. Isn't that right, Richard?
BBC, ITV, Channel 4.
ITV, Channel 4.
Here with Columbia Pictures Television. I now live in America. So
you live in America now.
What?
You've got a lovely fire in the background there.
Yeah, I live in Los Angeles, so it's a fake fire because everything's fake here. It's real gas. So.
Oh wow, that's okay then. Yeah, I was going to say that looks absolutely amazing. My fires never look like that. So.
Well, this is my office,
your space.
My fortress of solitude in here.
Right. So we're initially going to be talking about New Rock, New Rules, which is the third book in your series of 4 books, right? And I've forgotten what it was actually called, but already. But I think perhaps we might want to talk about the first book and the premise of this whole series of books. So why don't we just do that first, Richard?
The first book is called New Rock, New Role, ROLE, and the clue is in the spelling. It came out of my love of role-playing games because I became an avid internet gamer. And one night I was galloping around with my gang of scoundrels. I think it must have been Elder Scrolls Online, where there are 24 of us in a gang going off to cause mischief against 24 other live players all over the world with people in your earphones chatting away. And I just thought, what would it be like to be that guy? Really, not in the game, but really, what would it really be like to be a heroic battle mage with magic abilities, galloping around in a beautiful fantasy world, having adventures?
Right.
And there was only one way to find out, and that was to write it. Now, the premise is that our 3 people, our team, who's led by someone like me, a middle-aged retired school teacher.
Yeah.
I've disappeared now. No, I'm back.
A
middle-aged school teacher who's retired, living all alone, a widow. And he happens to be discovered he's good at gaming. So he and his 2 mates, who he's never met in real life, one of whom is an Australian avatar who's an Australian player whose avatar is an orc. So he's a large warrior with a battle axe. Yeah. And the third leg on the triangle is a warrior girl. She's a sword dancer, dual wielding.
Sword dancer, yeah.
Yeah, she's as quick as shit and twice as vicious. She's an Asian American. I can't use the word vicious. I do apologize.
Yeah, you can.
All us Sex Pistol fans from the old days. So she is an Asian American girl from California. So one lives in England in a bungalow in the middle of small suburb somewhere.
Right.
One lives in Australia. One lives in California. They've never met, but online,
quite common for online games, isn't it?
You never meet them. You hear them, so you can tell that one's an American girl and the other's an Australian guy. But you don't, unless they're using voice modulation, of course. You don't meet them in real life, and he doesn't meet them. But when they win the World Championship of Gaming online, of Sword and Sorcery, it's called. And interestingly, when I finished the first book, that following weekend, there was the Fortnite Championship on the internet.
All right.
Some kid won tens of millions of dollars, or a couple of million, with 30-odd million people watching live. So I discovered, I've just written about the future, only 1 week ahead. But
1 week ahead.
So it wasn't. Our game is traditional sword and sorcery, like the worlds of Elder Scrolls or Dragons, whatever. You know them all. Warcraft.
Well, EverQuest was the one I used to play.
Yeah, exactly. They're wonderful games, and all of us are waiting for Elder Scrolls 6 to turn up eventually. But then when I started writing, I didn't play any more games because I was so busy writing. I call it writing my own game, but I want to stress the adventures take place in a real world. They're the winner, the leader of the team, finds himself transported out of the winning arena on the internet, and he's going through lots of special effects and ends up on a hillside with a crappy sword and a rusty shield being chased by...
no.
Yeah, so he's back to being a noob. He's back to level 1.
No, level 1!
And of course, having been world champion, He's now back to nowhere, being chased around by wolves. And of course, he gets worse. The point that occurred to me right at the beginning was you'd have no idea how to do any of this in real life. I've never picked up a sword. I don't know what it would be like, let alone had a magic staff to do.
Yeah.
He's got to learn first of all, how to survive. Where are the other two? Where's Kreista the girl? Where's Grell the orc? He's all alone. And he's chased by wolves. And that's how the first chapter ends. He's standing on a hillside shouting at, what the hell? So then by the end of the second chapter, he's captured by a couple of wiry little woodskin who are basically elfish, but the elves in the book are disgusting. You don't call them elves without getting an arrow in your stomach, because that's a big insult.
Oh, really? Okay.
But by the end of that, he's their captive, and he's being marched off quite politely to be sold as a slave. So you see, from hero to zero within the first two chapters.
Within 2 chapters.
And then he's off to the races. He's got to find the other guys. When he finds the elk, what? Yeah. He finds the orc Grell quite soon. And Grell has turned out to be, instead of this heroic, unstoppable orc with a battle axe, he's a wimp. He doesn't know doesn't even know which end of a battle axe is which. As you can tell, a lot of my background is humour, comedy writing.
Yeah.
I'll get onto that later. So there's always funny things happening in adventures, and it's not a sort of spoof, but adventures and comedy have a lot in common. They're both about things going wrong.
Yeah. I mean, the room for mishap, is it's huge, isn't it? You can have loads of mishap in this sort of thing.
And that's a point that my agent stressed when I'd finished the first book. I wanted to know what happened in the second, so I started writing it. By the time she called me and said, this is good, we'll take it to market. And we discussed it, and I said, well, let me write the first 3 books, because one book's no good to a publisher if you're an unknown writer. They need something that's going to continue and grow and blah, blah, blah. So I said, let me get the first 3 done. And when the first 3 were done, I was in the middle of the 4th. She started pitching it. And one of the pitches she made to an American publisher was the pitch she always does with British writers. She says all the fun stuff comes out of England. The Terry Pratchett, Douglas Adams. I knew Douglas well. He was my contemporary and a good friend. I've got Douglas stories if you want. But so she does this, and there was a silence at the end of the line, and the person said, we take our fantasy very seriously. So she hung up and giggled and called me, and we both giggled about it and said, well, perhaps we don't send it there. It found a very good publisher, I'm delighted to say.
Right.
But that's all part of the journey of coming from idea, new rock, new roll, role-playing games. It's a bit of a pun in the title there. And
so the worlds then, essentially you've gone from this real world where people were having a game on the internet and taking part in a championship, and all of a sudden are they physically transported to this new world?
Well, no, not only that, they're their own avatars. He's not a retired school teacher anymore. He is a heroic young battle mage, but he doesn't have a staff. He doesn't even know if there is magic in this world.
Yep.
All he's got is a crappy level sword. And then he's got, and then of course a big quest unfolds that it turns out that they have to become involved in if they want to find out what happened and why. I mean, why are they in this new world?
Yeah.
There's a reason for it. It's explained at the end of the book, which everyone who reads it says, I didn't see that coming, but it makes, now I get it.
Makes absolute sense,
Yeah, and then there you're set up for the continuing adventures in this new world where they are, and they're perfectly happy to be their new avatars, because he doesn't want to be a 60-year-old fart in the middle of nowhere, at the end of his life. He's much rather be young and heroic and able to do all these things in a world he has to discover. It's much more exciting.
You didn't have to describe me to such detail, Richard.
Well, I did write the book about you, John. I mean, you really.
Although the 60-year-old. The 60-year-old.
You got long, flowing blonde locks. I mean, you've seen the cover.
Oh dear me! Just don't.
Every fantasy coming true.
there's not enough minoxidil in the world to give me long flowing locks, I'm afraid.
Well, all you just got to do is win the World Championship of Sword and Sorcery, and we shall see.
I'll get straight onto that. So essentially, they're on this new world now, in their new avatar bodies.
Yes.
Right? Permanently assigned.
Sorry?
Yeah. Permanently assigned to these bodies, I would assume. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and this new world has got magic.
Well, at first we don't know, but spoiler alert, yes.
Right.
Right. So after, there's 200 or 300 pages before you get to the point where he, gets his first magic staff, and of course he can't instantly wield it and be fabulous. He has to relearn what he learned, and he studies with his mentor, an old lady who lives in the woods called Barney, who has a hobgoblin that there's such fun characters that kept cropping up in that world, and brilliant. Some of these characters become part of the team, so they may not be in book 2, but in book 3 they might have a larger part. And
right,
so the overall team is basically the 4 people from this world and 1 from the world they go to, and he's someone they meet when they're conscripts in an army, and he's a thief, and he's so he's the 4th leg on the triangle, to mangle that metaphor again. and the 4 of them, and then various other people come in and join the party as it progresses.
Good. So in terms of world building then, which is what this is really primarily about, what was the main, let me just break it down into the main physical challenges of the physical world that you've created. What challenges did you have there? I mean, have you got a sun in the sky? Have you got a moon? Is it similar to our, or is it not similar at all?
It is similar, yes. It's similar, but it's sort of a medieval sword and sorcery world, so there hasn't been an industrial revolution yet, but there is magic.
Yeah.
There are challenges that are not of this world exactly, in the way that it might be, for example, an army of human beings turning up. There's otherworldly creatures,
right.
Some of which are friendly and some definitely not.
Definitely not so, yeah.
And, but this whole library we've got in the fantasy world to go anywhere and do anything, as long as you establish the rules, as long as it makes sense. People love, I certainly do, love going off into new worlds and exploring them. And
so on that note then, what rules have you got?
What rules have I got? Well, the first rule is not to cheat on your audience, ever.
Yeah.
So you can't, if whatever your magic is that you're making, for example, if we're dealing with magic, it's got to be consistent. You can't suddenly at the end say, a wizard turned up and waved a magic wand and it was all over.
Yeah.
Because it deflates the story.
Yeah,
if you're going to, a story always builds towards its climax, and the climax cannot be Deus Ex Machina coming out of a machine and solving everything for you. You have to do it yourself, and it has to be believable. And it also, by the way, has to be against overwhelming odds. The heroes always have to be the underdogs.
Oh, yes, of course, yes.
Very important. And, so you just keep reinventing the wheel. It's a little bit like when I used to write sitcoms. Not that the book resembles it in any way, but what you would aim to do is leave the characters more or less where you started. So there'd be an episode in which there was a problem to solve, and then the family or whoever it is back established where it was before, and then the next week's problem turns up.
Right, gotcha. Yeah.
So I've got this whole new world. I've got a whole universe out there that I can play with, and I do. And then off we went to the races exploring it. And I'm glad to say the series is complete. The 4th book comes out later this year, at the end of the year. And so that, because I have a producer here in Hollywood who's a very good friend, but he's one of my test readers. And so I get honest feedback from him. And on the 4th book, I said, I think this is the end of the series. Is that all right? Because I've got a whole universe out there available to me. I'm wasting lots of opportunities by. And he said, I love the series ends. And I thought about that for a long time. And I get it. You want to find out what happens in the end of a story. So each book's got an adventure that completes. And then the next book is another adventure with more problems that complete. And then at the end of the fourth book, that overarching story is complete. Now, of course, I've got that whole world out there for sequels, which I'm thinking about and working on at the moment. But I think they're going to take a bit of a turn. They might be about another generation, for example. But that, so to complete it I didn't feel, when he said this, I thought, oh, I'm not missing opportunities. I'm actually doing my job, which is finishing it up.
Finishing a story,
The overall story.
The overall story,
And it lands. It ends with, because that's what you always ask with a film script or anything is, how does it land? And that's not necessarily the end of the physical action. It's what the emotional
draw from it is.
What you draw together out of the whole thing, and the emotional satisfaction.
The emotional satisfaction, you said there. I think you broke up a little bit there, but So, okay, so can I just whisk us back a little bit to the bit where you said for about, I don't know, 200 pages or whatever it was that you said, he didn't have anything to do with magic. He didn't know how or to use magic. So what are the limitations on magic? I mean, we've got, obviously it's got to be learned, so that's a good thing. What is the other limitation? Does it cost anything to cast magic?
Oh yeah. You run out of power quite quickly. So you have to have jewelry or artifacts that help boost your reserves of energy. Just like in a game or anywhere, you can't just have a magic staff that zaps everything forever. It's going to run out.
I know. I'm just trying to determine what the mechanism you've got. That's what I'm trying to get to.
Well, I established that it's there, but it's effective, it's powerful, but it's limited, and they may be able to solve a problem where they're, for example, up against numbers they can handle, but when it's somebody's way more powerful than they are. That's going to happen, and it's important.
It's going to be difficult,
Otherwise, your heroes are gods.
Well, I do get that. I'm just trying to get to what the limit is. That's what I was trying to get to. But you've said that they require artifacts to.
Well, for example, like a magic ring or a brooch that might contain power, like this sort of a battery. Or
so, where do they typically get these from? Do they go on quests to get them?
If they conquer a boss or whatever it is, there's loot lying around. They find magic things. They don't necessarily know. One of the advantages I had writing the series was because we did go to market until I had 3 books done. I was able to keep going back into the first book and laying pipe. As you call it. So all plot writing is set up in Payoff. So what you're setting up pays off at the end. But I've set things up in book 1 or book 2. You don't even notice until later in books. You say, that thing we found in that's what this is.
Right.
So, and that holds it all together. And so the story is coherent rather than sort of having to suddenly take a turn and you go, well, wait a minute, that's not what you said in book 1.
So basically you've done a little bit of, I don't know, let's call it Chekhov's gun, for example. So you've got...
Completely. I mean, to me, the most important thing about writing, I just, when I'm talking to writers, young writers, I said, look, most of us know how to write. Most of us can write good description or good dialogue or whatever. Most of us can write good anything to a decent point. The hardest thing to learn is story structure. And that was definitely true for me because, when I got here to Los Angeles and I learned that people in the old days used to talk about, well, they'd write the scenario and then add the dialogue. You go, what? For films, really, the structure was done first before the story had any kind of soul to it. And so you learn very much how to stand outside the story with your summaries and your outlines while knee deep in it, in the inspiration of ploughing forwards and seeing what's going to happen. You've also got your outline saying, this is a point that's happening. That hasn't been set up yet. This, 2 lines per chapter. So it's going backwards and forwards between the attack of the writing and the standing back, looking at the whole thing and saying, all right, we need to fix this. That needs to be set up better. This doesn't work because if you want that to happen, then this has got to happen. And if that happens, then that can't happen. And those things are very important. And I think they're the hardest for us all to learn.
Yeah, yeah. There's a couple of people that I've interviewed which have basically said along similar lines of they've had a rough outline of the arc and therefore a rough plan of the chapters, and they've just gone straight into it and gone for the dialogue and let the story develop through the dialogue, whilst referencing the key points as to where they should be. And that's basically what you've just said, yeah.
It is the way, I mean, and the narrative, because you cannot, if you're just doing completely from outline, which you have to do in television or film work, to some extent you're caged in, which is good if you've got a script to deliver and everyone knows, and you're working with producers and editors and they want everything to be as good as possible. They're not your enemies.
Yeah.
They're all on the same side. But you don't, not everything works.
Yeah.
Sometimes anyway.
I digress.
You want to have that freedom. Any writer will tell you that things happen in the story. Characters pop out of nowhere who take over. That's a very common thing we all find. Happened in these books. It's happened in scripts I've written, and things. And you go, oh, that's what this person is. For example, in a play I wrote years ago. Oh, I see. I see what I'm doing. Idea, and you can zig backwards and go. You start from here. You start with an idea, and it moves, and then you got your structure, and then you go back to ideas. You have to learn how to knit it all together, and it's not instinctive. The instinctive thing is to sit down and start writing. And when you're young, I've certainly done it as a schoolboy, is writing stories and just going forwards, and they sort of stop, and then. Luckily, I had teachers who said to me, this is really good, but what happens and, what if? And so it got me to think outside the writing box as a creative writer and into an editing box in order to self-edit. And these are the two pillars. Can you stand on two pillars? No, the four legs. I don't know. But they're two sides of the same cliche.
Two sides of the same cliche. I love it. Yeah, very good. So that sounds really interesting, actually, because having spoken to a number of people who've got a different approach. I mean, there are some people who literally go all the detail and then, I mean, to the nth degree.
Yeah,
and. I get why people do that, because some people just want to have that detail there to work from. But I would personally, and I don't know about you, but I would personally find that a little bit constrictive.
I was going to use the word restrictive. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's the point. Yeah, that is the point. But look at it from the point. The example I give is detective stories. How can you possibly, as a writer of detective stories, at some stage? And my thought is that you would sit there and you'd work out your plots and your characters and your red herrings and who's available and the timing and all that detective stuff. And you would know who the killer is long before the audience does.
Well, that's you would have thought. Yeah.
Exactly. So you know where you're going, because otherwise you're in exactly the same spot as your audience and you're trudging along with them saying, I wonder who done it. Yeah. Well, I think that's really shooting yourself in the foot as a writer. You want to be ahead of them, and so you can say to people, and what audiences love is being surprised.
They do, yes.
The best thing is when you can take the audience in a certain direction, go, look at that, it's over there, and you go all the winding red herrings and confusions and backtracks and, I'm wrong about this, let's go the other way, guys. And you get there at the end, and at the end you say, oh no, it's over there. And the audience goes,
and it was there all along.
Of course. You got me. That's what audiences love. You got me, and that makes sense. And I didn't see it, and good on you, and thank you. That's what I love.
Murder on the Orient Express.
Well, when I read a story that does that, I'm in heaven. And that's what I write. I try and write.
Yeah.
I mean, if you see the ending coming in my book, you'll be the first one. And then you'll go on to the next thing and you go, okay, now I understand. That makes perfect sense. And then again, book 3, the one you're talking about, New Rock, New Rules, the one that was just published, there is chapter 9. You're given the whole answer in 16 lines of enigmatic verse, very simple lines like run and hide and run. That's how it starts, these 16 lines of verse. And the wise woman says, well, there's your answer. And our hero's going, what? Doesn't make any sense. Well, it's there, you've been told. These people don't tell you these things unless they've been told by whatever. So there's your answer. Go figure. And so our hero is going off with his major problem, and another even more major problem arrives at the place where he's having to leave and rush against time anyway. So he's got to figure out but there's the answer, and he bangs his head against it, and gradually little bits reveal themselves. And by the time you get to the end, it's all clear. Yeah. And you don't see it coming. You can't figure it out. But you go, oh, right, yeah, that's what it says. I see now. Now I know what it means as well as what it says.
Yeah. A subtle difference. Yeah.
Huge. Yeah. But at least that you've told the audience, here we go, come along with me. If you trust me, and if you've read the first 2 books, by then you know whether you trust the writer or not, enough to read the third one. And if you come along with me on that journey, you're going to be in the same space as our hero, trying to work out what's going on while he does it, while the gangs do this and that, and go through their various small problems on their way to solving the big ones.
Yeah. Okay. That sounds very interesting, Richard.
It was a lot of fun to write, and I hope you enjoy it when you get there.
I'm going to have to now. I've got such a pile of books to read. It's ridiculous.
Oh, what a chore. You lucky bastard. It's a shame people don't find so much time for reading these days, what with the interweb.
It is. But real life, on a separate note, just as a little whinge, right?
Yeah.
You would have thought with all the modern day conveniences that we have and everything else that we'd have more time for leisure. But it just doesn't seem to be the case, does it?
Well, what we've done is we've sold our leisure. We are the product. The people like the Zuckerbergs and Musks of this world know exactly how to exploit us by pumping addictive drivel over the internet. So in the last year, we're now in January 2026 when we make this recording, the explosion of AI slop onto YouTube, it's almost ruined YouTube for me. I mean, like most people, I went off land-based television. I just watch YouTube. If I watch anything, I just watch a bit of YouTube to catch up and see not just television, but also things I'm interested in for my hobbies and my interests.
Yeah.
And there's so much crap out there of, this man went into the house and this, and you go, no, he's got 3 legs. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
But it just fills the
6 fingers.
Well, so then the end of this is we'll all get fed up with the internet and YouTube and being glued to a bloody phone, which is the most. I mean, my daughter never looks at internet anymore. She's a coder. She's a tech coder. That's what she does. She's just not interested in social media. She wants to live real life with her friends.
That's good.
Yeah, but it's just. That's what's going to happen to all of us. We're all just going to grow out of this crap, especially looking at your telephone all the time and scrolling through dribbling. After a bit, you're just going to go, why am I still doing this? They pump stuff at you that's going to be, if you're interested in fashion, for example, which is something I'm clearly not interested in. You're looking at new handbags or new shoes or what the latest people are doing, which is a very new thing. After a bit, even someone who likes the idea of the new is going to go, it's the same old stuff. It's just new stuff happening. Why am I going to do something else?
I'd just be so exhausted. I'd just run out of dopamine by the end of the day.
That's exactly the point. After you just say, like my daughter, just sod this. Yeah. She reads books all the time. And she's a techie. She's a scientist. She reads fantasy books. She's the one I say, got anything good to read on the holiday? Yeah. And she comes up with some great ones. And I personally, now that I'm older, my eyes are weaker, I listen to audiobooks. Which I love. I can forgive the odd mispronunciation that people make. But I go for a walk every day to keep fit and listen to books. And
I'll tell you what the best. Sorry, we're going off tangent here a little bit,
Yeah.
but one of the best audiobooks I've listened to was a science fiction one, and it was the Bobiverse. We Are Legion.
Who?
Yeah, We Are Legion. I think it's the first.
Oh, okay. I've read the title. That's good.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. And
brilliant. Thank you. I always like good recommendations.
Yeah, the voice style of the person reading it. It's not AI reading it. It's an actual actor reading it.
AI reading it would make me throw it away.
Yeah, brilliant. It just totally
matches. You know?
Oh, I can't remember.
What was the first book? We Are Legion.
We Are Legion. Hold on a second. I am going to get it up for you right now.
You can always edit this bit out.
Oh, I'm not going to. They need to know.
I talk among myself while you're doing this.
Yeah. Right. It was by Dennis E. Taylor.
Okay.
Right. And it's called We Are Legion. And read by. Yes. Read by. I don't know.
Oh, he's good. I mean, if you listen to someone like, for example, in England, Stephen Fry is a wonderful reader.
Oh, yeah, I didn't say that. I said I didn't know.
Stephen Stephen. He's wrote 3 books about Greek myths. I think he's on the 4th now, Mythos and Troy.
Yeah.
Reads them himself. And they're very accessible. You know, I can't really put up with heavily academic books anymore, but Stephen's very entertaining, and he reads them himself. Ray
Porter is the narrator. Ray Porter.
I can't hear that. Ray Porter.
Yeah. So
the guy that I think is fantastic is the actor Will Wheaton. Do you know Will?
Oh yeah, Will Wheaton. Yeah.
He was in Star Trek: The New Generation or Voyager.
Wesley. Yeah.
Wesley Crusher. I've actually played poker against him. He's nearly as bad as I am. We were in a celebrity tournament, in Las Vegas. So we got knocked out by scoundrelly pros. But he's very nice chap. And he read the audiobook of Ready Player One.
He did, yeah. I've got that, yeah.
That is brilliant. I mean, that's just so well. There's a couple of mispronounced. The Scottish whiskey Glenmorangie, he pronounces as Glenmorangie.
I cringed at that, yeah.
Listen, you can forgive. It's beautifully read. He just acts it fantastically.
Yeah,
I don't want to talk about Ready Player 2 because, unfortunately, that was a damp squib after a very good book. It was.
Well, I definitely recommend the Bobiverse series of books by Dennis E. Taylor. I interviewed Dennis E. Taylor years back about the Bobiverse series of books, and he was quite a fascinating chap. He basically it kind of like the whole idea of a von Neumann probe is that basically they self-replicate. Right, and they augment and they improve themselves and so on and so forth.
And these are adventures, are they proper adventures?
Yeah, I mean, basically it's the story of this guy who dies, and he basically had an insurance policy where his body's preserved until such time they could fix whatever was wrong with him, right?
Uh-oh. Yeah, that's
so basically, so he dies, right, and then wakes up on a desk, right, because he's now looking out of a camera on a computer.
Oh, lovely. Oh, don't go any further.
I won't.
But I'm going to buy it and I'm going to start listening. I'm just
do it. It's brilliant.
An interesting book about the Wall Street crash of 1929. I go between fiction and non-fiction.
And non-fiction, you're going to have balance. Yeah.
Well, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah. Anyway, enough about them. What about your books?
I was actually going to steer us back to this because I do my own audiobooks.
Do you?
Been a lot of, again, the same producer in LA. I was talking to my friends and I said, well, who should we get to do the audiobooks? Because there are plenty of English actors out here that we know. And he said, oh, you should do it. I said, what?
Oh.
What? And he said, well, when I read the book, I hear your voice. It's your speech style. So I was very lucky that I got Fred Sanders to produce it. Fred produced the Game of Thrones audiobooks, or at least the last one, working with the amazing Roy Dotrice, lovely old actor. And Roy Dotrice played my ancestor on stage at the Royal Shakespeare Company at Stratford, and I saw him do it. He played Harry Hotspur.
Your ancestor.
My ancestor, Harry Hotspur,
Right.
the Percy side of Mum's side of the family, going way like 400 years. I mean, we're plebs, but everyone's got somebody in their back tree. You know, you're probably Elvis's grandson for all you know. But back there'll be some lord, you know. And okay, maybe the wrong side of the blanket with a dairy maid, but we've all got posh in this family. And so Roy Dotrice read the books, and Fred said the last book they did, which was the Dragons, Dance with Dragons, I think. God, that's got to be 15 years ago now. He said Roy was, you know, elderly and couldn't remember what people's voices sounded like. So in one chapter, Tyrion would have a Welsh accent, and in the next one, he'd be Scottish. and Brian, he pronounced Brian, Brienne, Brian. And Fred would say, you got it, get it right, Roy. But anyway, he was really helpful. Fred was my producer and is also a skilled reader and actor. So Fred told me, just look, go for it. You're the writer. They want to hear what you sound like. They want to hear how the author says the words, just the rhythms. So you don't have to be the world's greatest actor. Now, you know, my Australian accent for the orc character, Grell, that's spot on. Right. All the Aussies say that. The Australian-American, the Asian-American girl who lives here in California, that's a bit wet. That's close enough. But I'm not an Asian-American girl, even though I've lived here. I can hear some of it. I sort of do it, you know. All the local Englishy type people, like those voices come through okay. But it was fun doing it, and so I really like audiobooks. So good.
Good. Right. Well, we're nearing the end actually, because it's just going on, and we've meandered and taken several routes off the track. But that's my fault, really. I should have been a little bit harder and kept us on track. But I've just been enjoying the chat. So.
Listen, when you're in the same with a game on the internet, what track? You can follow the road, you can just go off over the hill and explore.
That's right, yeah.
Basket. Yeah.
So have you got any more surprises in store with this series of books? I don't want to give away spoilers or anything.
Surprises in store in real life is that things like, I can't really talk about it, but because that's, but, you know, other things I've done in my career as a writer of things
let's talk about
9 o'clock news, for example.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes these things reappear. I shall say no more, but, you know, these worlds they call you up years later and say, how about this and what about that? So there are other things happening.
That's a big hint.
Yeah, well, it's sort of, I don't mean to be coy, but you can't really talk about other people's work until it's all happening.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you sort of, the air goes out of it.
Yeah.
And people say, well, what happened to that thing you were doing with, you know, that film you were making with Clint Eastwood and I can't think of any other actors. You go, oh, well, no, that didn't happen. I've never met Clint. I just...
you just use
it. Needed a name that people go, oh, really?
Really?
So you tend to keep these things close to your chest. They actually happen. But I've been doing the writing for these things, and it's fun. So we shall see.
Excellent. We'll look out for that then.
Yeah, because you know those guys, not the 9 o'clock news. That was a fun time back.
Which now obviously you've done quite a lot of work for Not 9 O'Clock News and some of the No. What I was going to say was, what's the most memorable sketch that you did?
Okay, I just want to quickly say it's not my strength. I'm not a news satire writer. So even though John Lloyd, the producer, who's a very old friend and still is, commissioned me to write, I had difficulty coming up with topical political satire of the week. It's not my strength. My strength is making stuff up. The sketches I've been writing in the last month or so, those are flying out of me. It's my ballpark. I'm happy there. So at the time I didn't write very many. And the one that I usually remember is the Argentinian football team, rugby team, crashed in the Andes and ended up eating each other.
I remember that.
So I wrote a sketch which reversed that, which was Rowan interviewing Mel, who's my university contemporary, and we did shows together as students, Mel Smith and Chris Langham, who I didn't know. And they are two survivors from the air crash. And Rowan is interviewing them very, very sweetly and respectfully. And Mel nails the punchline because they're talking about all the crap they had, all the terrible airline food. Rowan said, well, why were you reduced to eating the airline food? And Mel says, well, we'd eaten all the passengers.
Yeah.
that nailed it. That was a good punchline. And that was the week or so after that terrible crash.
Yeah, wow.
And then some other bits and pieces survived, got in there.
Yeah.
And there's some really good writers in there, as well as that talented team of people.
Well, I remember watching it at the time, and it was absolutely amazing. It was, such a good show, and
wasn't it?
very, it was. And it's a shame there's nothing similar around.
There's reasons for that. I was talking with John Lloyd the other day, well, maybe a year or so ago, when we were sitting in a pub in London having our catch-up drink, and he said, there's just not the budgets around these days for sketch comedy.
Yeah.
They used to go out on the street like Python did and film outside.
Yeah. I mean, it's because of the writers. There's so many writers involved, isn't it? They don't want to pay the writers, isn't it? That's what I heard.
A lot of us were on staff. There were several writers on staff in the room, several freelancers like me. I was, one of the ones I got paid to write a few minutes a week. I wasn't in the writer's room every day. I was actually off in New Zealand for making a series out there that was far better paid. Anyway, one of my favourite Not the 9 O'Clock News things, Griff said to me the other day, said, middle-aged men are always coming up to me and saying, you're my father's favourite comedian. Thanks a lot. Makes him feel old. But there were only 4 channels, and Channel 4 was BBC 2 was new-ish. So they got the entire audience of all the kids. The parents would be in one room watching the main news, and the kids would watch Not the 9 O'Clock News. And it had a massive audience. And of course, when you got a star like Rowan holding it all together and Mel was the glue, actually. Yeah. And this is John Lloyd, the producer, telling me this, is that Mel knew so much about comedy and about theatre that he was the one who knew everything, and he held it all together while the other stars were free to bring their own
style.
Yeah, and when Chris was fired at the end of the first series and Griff replaced him, that's when it really took. And we haven't even had time to talk about Douglas Adams. God.
No. Go on then. You brought him up. You can't name drop.
I thought you wanted to get rid of me.
I did, but come on, Douglas Adams.
Well, I was on a first date with a young lady I was very interested in. Mm-hmm. We went to a pub in London near her flat, and I went up to the bar to get the drinks. There was Jeff McGivern standing at the bar, who's an actor who'd been in Cambridge reviews with Douglas and Mary Allen and Simon Jones, and Griff came in the second year, so he might have been around. John Lloyd was in that lot. And we had Mel Smith in our team from the Oxford reviews. And we all used to meet and make friends and be jealous of each other and work, then ended up working together as we graduated. So Douglas, I knew since those days. And when I met Jeff McGivern in the pub, I said, "Oh, how are things going?" He said, "Douglas has written a new radio show and I'm in it. He's got a part for me." I said, "Oh, congratulations. What's it called?" He said, "It's called Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy." And I said, "Oh, great title," thinking absolutely nothing because I just wanted to get back to my date.
Yeah.
I didn't want a handsome young actor coming and barging in. So, "Oh, great, see you later." So I told this to my writing partner, Gail Renard, a name that you may know. She's head of the British Writers Guild. She's been twice and is a very eminent writer. But she said, "Oh, I can top that." What? So she and Douglas used to do double act show together. And one day he disappeared for a few weeks and came back and came to a flat and plumped his enormous frame. He's about 9'7", sat down in the chair and said, "Oh, I've just been hitchhiking around Greece. I wonder what it would be like to hitchhike around the galaxy." And Gail said, "Oh, come on, Douglas, we've got a sketch to write." So that was predated my story. So yeah, so we go back to the old days, and
Wow.
yeah.
I remember the Hitchhiker's Guide on the radio when it was on
That
Radio
was the
4.
best. I say to people who read the books, please listen to the radio series, because you had such great actors like Peter Jones.
Yeah, it was brilliant.
And Stephen Moore.
Yeah.
And of course, Simon Jones being the lead.
Yeah. The effects as well. I mean, I know it was just early days of audio effects, but they were still quite atmospheric and amazing.
I think it was Simon Brett and then later Jeffrey Perkins. Jeff sadly has died, as has Douglas. I mean, God, when Douglas died, that was a shock.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
He didn't even make it to the 21st century. And he was way ahead of me on video games. I remember talking to him, and because he didn't like writing, he'd rather play games. Said, what were you playing all these? Because I thought they were sort of babyish things, on a little tiny. This was very, very early. He said, "No, they're amazing. You don't understand." And of course, I didn't. Years later, I get into them myself, and I go, "Douglas, yes, once again, you were right."
Yeah. That feels like me. I'm almost saying to someone, "You don't understand. These are absolutely amazing." You know, these games, because a lot of them are. They're very complex, but such a huge form of escapism. And I'm not surprised you took that leap into using it as a sort of new world for your characters.
Well, it is a fit. And if you look at games, they use Greek myths, they use Roman, they use a lot of Nordic mythology.
Yeah, they do,
Skyrim, that's set in a kind of Norse world.
Norse world, yeah.
And then they got the Redguard from the south. I mean, it's all blended together. It's all. I mean, look. J.R.R. Tolkien said there would never have been a Lord of the Rings without Wagner, without the Ring Cycle, and the Ring Cycle goes back to the Nibelungenlied and to the Eddas and the sagas.
Yeah, it does.
We all reinvent the wheel in our own. Tolkien's orcs are horrible sort of thugs, and basically subhuman. My orcs are splendid fellows. They're always up for a fight. They'll have a good scrap. They love a good drink. You don't look at them in a funny way, or you get your head shoved back up your ass. But they're good people. They're solid.
Yeah.
And,
salt of the earth, are they?
Salt of the earth, and they nothing like more than a good scrap and a good feast.
And a good feast, and a pint or two, I would imagine.
And a pint or two of Orcish ale, which is good stuff. And also, Terry Pratchett's elves.
Yes.
They're horrible, snotty lords and ladies types of. They're not like Tolkien's elves who are wise.
No, who are refined and.
My elves don't really appear, but they're pit elves. They live in pits and they'll eat you alive. So we all just reinvent the wheel and use it for our own purposes by refreshing the franchise, really.
Yeah, very good. Well, Richard, have you got anything else to say? Have you got a website?
Yes, thank you. There's a website called richardsparks.com, believe it or not, and that you can get free extracts of the books, a free chapter of each book, or a free audio book sample. So you can come along and test the waters, and if you like it, come on in and join in the adventures.
Brilliant. All right, then. Well, thanks very much, Richard. It was a pleasure having you on.
Thank you for having me, John.